So the LMNA Rendezvous 2021 photo contest, this is the first time we've done it online. And basically, we're going to be using the Facebook page, the Rendezvous 2021 Facebook page, as a hub for it. What I'd like to do is draw your attention to the media tab. This is going to be crucial for our contests. Click on the media tab and it'll open up the media window. Then I'd like you to click on the albums tab, and that will bring up the 5 categories, the albums for the 5 categories of photographs that we can enter pictures into. The first one is the artistic category. There's also a nature and close-up category. That's macro and also, sub-macro, but all the pictures are close-up, close focus. Then there's a habitat category, then a wildlife category, and a naturalist category. Every photo that's entered into the contest, we'd like to be able to use as a resource afterwards, and to help promote our activities and to use in publicity materials. So entry into the contest is de facto giving us permission to use your images. So everyone will be a winner, really, because you're all contributing to the media resources of our group. I'd like you to submit images 2 megabytes or smaller in size, please, not enormous ones at this stage. And because Facebook degrades the images slightly, I'd like you also to email your JPEGs to the email addresses that I've put into the chat window, contest@thewebcat.biz, and also CC to lamorham@yahoo.com, just in case. Some emails have bounced off my email address recently. This is just for redundancy purposes. So moving on now, let's have a look at the artistic category as an example. Here's if you click on the artistic category tab, you get here. Click on this image of a dragonfly that I submitted as a sample, and you will see an Add Photos and Videos button. This is the button to click to add your image to this gallery. I advise you to prepare your caption text in advance, please, so you can just copy and paste it in. That's the easiest way. And moving on, you can add to albums by clicking the Upload Photos or Videos button, or you can just drag and drop your image into the window here. There's an example. There's a dragonfly. Click Open. There it is. You'll see under your image, there's a little box for your description. It says optional, but in fact, for the photo contest, it's not optional. We need to know that you intend the image to be used in the contest. That's the first thing. It's not just a random post by yourself. And key information. Here's an example. We begin with for 2021 photo contest. Then there's a category, artistic. Then the author name by Charles Paxton. Then the class, professional or amateur. This is important because we don't want the professionals and the amateurs competing directly against each other. It's unfair. So there are 2 classes for each category, and there'll be 2 awards for each category, amateur and professional. What constitutes professionality? Well, basically, if you're paid for images and you're still in the process of selling images, then we consider you to be a professional. If not, you're an amateur. Moving on quickly, afterwards, you'll have a caption for your image. And in this one, it'd be nice if you gave us a little background information to the image. The name of the subject is important, so we get that right. And everyone will enjoy that, I think, the background. When you finish with that, you click on the blue post button and away it goes. You're up and running. We need 1 photo per photographer in each category, please. No no more than one. Okay, thank you. So we have also a video contest. That was the photo contest information. And the full rules and regs are on our web page as well, if you want to check up on that. Now, here's the video contest. This is the first time LMNA has ever run a video contest, and obviously the first time it's online. Here we have 3 themes with the professional and amateur class divisions. We have habitat theme, naturalist theme, and wildlife in action theme. And also, again, please declare whether you're a professional or amateur in your caption and provide some background information about your video. The video loading is almost the same, except that we're not loading into folders. We found it difficult for people to add images to folders for some reason. So we're just going to use any video that appears in the media pane will be considered for the awards. That's the way we'll do it. Any video added to this group page will appear under the videos tab in the media window automatically. And again, to add a video, you click the Add Photos Video button. Click that once, it'll bring up the panel, just as before. Here's an example that I put up. And here's an example video submission with a caption. And that's a sort of model for you to work with. Again, we've got the rules and regs up on our website as a download in PDF. Right. Now, how do we vote? Voting is really important. The voting begins on the 10th and runs through to the 20th, 8 p.m. After 8 p.m, I will tot up the scores and we'll see who's the winner. We vote with these emoticons. To reveal these emoticons, you, on phones, if you're using a phone, you hold down the like button, that's this one here, and on the computer you hover over the like button, and it will bring up these emoticons. You can like as many images as you like, as you want. The likes won't be counted initially. It's the love hearts here. This counts as your vote. Please only vote for one image per category per class. So in each category, you can vote for a professional and an amateur independently if you want. And you can like as many images as you want, but obviously the ones that you love won't be liked by you. In the case of a tiebreaker, in a photo or video contest, we're going to count the number of likes as well. And the candidate with the greatest number of likes and the equal number of loves will be the winner. If we end up with a tiebreaker with the likes too, then you'll both get an award, basically. You'll be co-awarded. Okay, voting, as I said, begins April 10th at 12 a.m. and ends April 20th at 8 p.m. And I think I've got a little time for questions. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be very happy to take them. Thank you very much.
Charles, I'm looking at the chat, and yes. I see there's a question about, does media permission apply to all chapters? In other words, would chapters, I assume, could use any of these images also? Yes, yeah. The idea is it's going to be a communal LMNA resource. Okay. We're going to develop a resource library of useful pictures. So in a way, the categories are really intended to help us, the naturalist, the habitat, and the creatures. Hopefully, after this contest, we'll have quite a resource base. We'd have expanded it many-fold. So yes, good question. Thank you. And there's another question about, is there a category for original art? Well, actually, we kind of hope that they're all original. Now, for original art, the artistic category would be the one that person would be aiming for. Now, in the artistic category, you can really heavily modify your image in post-production. You can go serialistic.
The other categories will only alter the images a little bit, but keep them natural looking, please. So a bit of extra sharpening, extra, contrast, a little extra saturation levels, that's okay, but nothing radical, no unnatural alterations.
There is one other question. What is the cutoff date for entries? And I think you said the 20th. Is that right?
The 20th. Yes, absolutely. The 20th is. Now, the reason why we're starting our voting on a bit later, not today, is to give people a chance to get their images up so that everyone can see everything before they start voting. So ideally, you'd like to get your images in by the 10th so that they're competing fairly with everyone else's. However, because we'll all be out and about in the spring, some people will get really good pictures and they can add them at any time before the 20th. Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
thank you so much, Charles. Now, Charles, you have another something else?
Yeah, this is very important. I'm sorry to say. The images need to date from 2020 or 2021, but the videos can be taken at any time because this is the first video contest. I'm assuming that people had a chance to enter their good images in previous contests, but they'd never had a chance to enter a video. So you can use old video, but please use recent images, 2020 or 2021.
And Charles will not be going away, so you can ask him at any time through Facebook questions that you have pertaining to the contest.
Yes, and I'm a photography bore. If you want to talk wildlife photography, I'm very happy to engage with you.
Okay, thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing what everybody is going to be posting.
Thank you. Sorry, just seeing there's another question. So we can change our votes by changing the loved image up until 4:28 p.m. Yes, you can. Yes. So it's going to be completely fluid up until 8 p.m. on April 20th. Yes. Yeah. If someone posts a new image that's absolutely gobsmacking, by all means, go for a love heart.
Yeah, that's right, because some people might be entering in some. Okay, great going. We're looking forward to that.
Thanks, Janie.
Janie, could I jump in here for just a second?
I'm getting ready to bump you out. Yes.
But don't introduce me quite. This question about original art, I have a feeling that Janelle is asking about painting or drawing. This is the current virtual edition of the photo competition. We've never had, I think it's a wonderful idea to have a painting or drawing or other art forms competition, but that's not this one. This one is definitely the ongoing photo competition that we've had for several years.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. And next up to explain the scavenger hunt is Bette Kauffman, who you just met, but she is our vice president of the board, as well as she serves as president of the Northeast Master Naturalist Chapter. And she's works as an ordained deacon in the Episcopal Church. And so her schedule needs to change from time to time, depending upon the events of her parish. That's why she was moved up today. She is a retired from university. She was in with communication, public relations, and writing for media. But her lifelong wannabe biologist is now here with us, and we're so pleased. She said that she didn't choose the biologist route because she had a fear of math, but now she's making up for lost time as being a very passionate master naturalist. And she also is a photographer and loves to take pictures, and she has some beautiful work. I know that I've seen some of that on Facebook before. So Bette, let's roll with the scavenger hunt.
Thank you, Janie, very much. The scavenger hunt is, I hope, going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to, first of all, apologize to my committee because I had a brilliant idea this morning. So there's going to be one little wrinkle that's going to be new to everybody. So here goes, a little PowerPoint. The scavenger hunt is going to be run as an iNaturalist collection project. And here you see the banner image that is on that collection project. And if you go on iNat and search for LMNA 2021 Scavenger Hunt, you should be able to pull up this project. You don't particularly need to go there. I will explain to you when you should go there, but you don't go there. It's really important. You will post your observations on your own iNat page. The project collects them automatically. This project is set to open and begin collecting observations at 12 noon today, and it will close and no longer accept observations at 12 noon, April the 24th. Very important. That's how collection projects works. You set the time. Right now, this screenshot that you were looking at for the project requirements says all taxa. Not. There is a taxa list, and you will get to see it shortly, but that is, when I took this screenshot last night, I hadn't entered the taxa into the project yet. But this is right on the front page of the project where you can go anytime you want to check the list of taxa. You will have other access to it as well, and I'll get to that also in a minute. But I did want to point out that to be a user, for your observations to be collected by this project, you must be on this list of users. And this list of users is people who registered for Rendezvous 2021 and who gave Janie a working iNat username for me to manually enter into the project. That's how you get on this list of users. And when I did this screenshot last night, there were 49. There are now 50 because Tom Goldman got his little issue corrected, and Tom is now on the list. So there are 50, and there are 2 more people whose the usernames that I received from Janie did not work. And Janie has tried to communicate with you. And as soon as I get your accurate new username, I will get you onto the project. So you got to be a user. Only the observations of these users will be collected by this project. The rules and guidelines are available 3 ways. I posted that I did a journal post. This is also on the project page. And if you go to the project on iNaturalist and click on the journal, all of the rules and regulations are there. I also posted, Charles put them up. They are a flyer attached that you can download and print if you wish on the Rendezvous or on the LMNA website. And I posted them last night on the Rendezvous Facebook page. So at least 3 ways that all the rules and guidelines are available to you. Collection criteria are these. You set a collection project according to criteria. And again, first of all, the observations must be made within the political boundary of Louisiana. If you are using, and some of you know and others might not, that iNaturalist is going to use, if your camera collects GPS data, that is what iNaturalist will use to locate your observation. So if you are working near a border of the state of Louisiana, and your GPS is not entirely accurate, you could conceivably post an observation that would not be collected by the project because the GPS coordinates are off. If that should happen to you, let me know. I will get on the phone with you and walk you through how to correct that so that your observation will move into the state of Louisiana. And I'm trusting you to not fool me on that and get me to help you move an observation that literally was taken outside of Louisiana. We're partly on the honor system here, as we know, and we're honorable people. Your observation must be identified as a taxa on the list that I have now entered into the project. Only taxa on that list will be collected by the project. It can be a needs ID level. It cannot be a casual level observation. Those will not be collected by the project. And it must be made by an authorized user. Those are the 4 criteria that are built into the project on iNaturalist. How to participate? First of all, make sure your iNat username is on the user list of the project. Go to the project and go through that user list name and make sure that you're there. Now, so far, the count matches up perfectly with what Janie sent me, but make sure that your iNat username is on the user list so that your observations will be collected. Get out into the field and observe stuff on the list. That's the most important and fun part, obviously. And then post your observations on your own iNat page as, I'm actually part of my, as the project, and then, post your observations on your own page. Then after you've done several, go to the project page and make sure the project is collecting your observations. If anything goes wrong with that, if you can't find them, again, you need to be in touch with me and we will troubleshoot that situation. Tidbits. A photo is required on your observations in the project, except audio recordings of birds will be sufficient. You do not have to have a photo of a bird as long as it is an audio recording that you can identify and that iNet can identify. No game camera photos, please. That's not what we're up to here. We will use research grade observations to break ties. And again, no casual observations. The filtering system on iNaturalist projects is quite good, and we will begin by filtering by username, and then we will do manual checking of your observations to make sure that everything's on the up and up. The list. All right, drum roll, please. This is the list, and I know you can't see it or read it well here, but first of all, Charles either already has or shortly will upload it to the website, and it will be a downloadable document on the website, and you can see that we have made it out to be a checklist so that you can print it and check them off as you do them. I will post it a little bit later today on the Facebook page. It is in checklist format and it's color coded, but you don't really need the color coding to follow it. So if you don't print it in color, it's no big deal. We have reptiles on the list, of course, and did anybody not expect alligator to be there? A few snake, and here we have in the green ones, these are species specific. The brown ones, tan ones are a choice between two species. Either one will satisfy the requirement. And then we come to some that were genus only. At the genus level, any Nerodia will satisfy. In the turtle order, any Testudine, etc., etc. That's how it works. And I was delighted that iNaturalist can handle that, species versus orders and families. Birds, great egret, couple of, and then a hawk, anything in the Buteo genus, and any heron, besides Ardea alba, obviously, because that's one of the species required. Any other heron. Plants, we have some plants. And again, some choices and some at the genus level. Notice that the composite flower, the Astracea, must be flowering. And there is a place to record phenology of a plant on iNaturalist, and I urge you to use that. I use it on all of my observations. I think it's important information. And then arthropods. Few specific, few choices, one genus. Mammals, fox squirrels or eastern gray, white-tailed deer, anything in rodentia, not a squirrel. Any rodentia that it's not a squirrel. And then we have fungi, lichen, and protists. That's the slime mold. And we have mollusks, one mollusk. And then we chose some invasive plants for you. So making this list was challenging and fun. It really made us think what we could put on the list that would make it challenging, not too terribly easy, but not make it so difficult that people would give up and not try to complete the list. So you're going to have to give us feedback on how we did on this. It's really kind of hard to judge, but we did do our research and we did make sure that we didn't put a species on the list that doesn't, for example, occur in Acadiana. We made sure that the species specific items are things that occur in every part of the state. Now, here's the wrinkle that I came up with just this morning that I thought was brilliant. I finished doing all this work of getting it all ready, and I realized that we did not put our logo bird on the list. So I decided, all on my own, that we will have a wild card. And wild card is Anhinga anhinga. If you get an Anhinga and post that observation, we will use it to substitute for any other taxa on the list that you did not get, okay? There's your wild card. And the final thing I want to say is hunt smack. Hunt Smack is fun. I have done many photography scavenger hunts online, and half the fun is Hunt Smack. So do your bragging on the Facebook page when you get, hey, I got it, you know, blah today, or I'm halfway there. Post it on the Facebook page and be sure to use the hashtag Hunt Smack so that we can check out all of your bragging online. And then questions at the end when the project closes. I will be busy with the help of Kim and Charles to calculate results and check things out and be ready to tell you who wins bragging rights. And I'm probably going to even like later today, I'm going to go see who, you know, somebody's sitting there, going to be sitting next to a plant on the list. And at 12 o'clock and 1 second is going to take a photograph of that plant and post it on iNat. Okay. So yeah, if that's you, I'll brag about that. I'll go look tonight and I'll post some progress reports along the way. Any questions?
I'm looking at the list. I think on the chat, some of the questions were answered. Someone asked where to find projects. I know that on iNaturalist, I believe that you click on the More tab and that will bring up the projects. And let's see, I'm looking at the chat. I don't see any other new questions. And again,
A casual
Bette,
a casual observation is a cultivar. Yeah, a cultivar or a contained animal. These are to be wild. These are to be observations of things that occur naturally in the wild, not the magnolia tree in your neighbor's yard, please. That would be a casual observation. So when you are posting on iNat, you have an option to mark, you can post those things on iNat, but you are supposed to mark them as not wild, not natural, not occurring naturally, and then this project will not collect them.
Okay, and again,
Hey, can I make a comment?
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to make a comment that it warms my heart to hear a retired communications professor use the word neurodia.
You know, Bob,
see, it's working. The system's working.
The system is working. Listen, the truth of the matter is, in the last year or so, I have found people asking me what a plant is, and I can't think of the common name. Okay. All I can think of is Calicarpa americana. You don't know what that is? I don't know. What is it? It's Calicarpa, you know? So that's been an amazing transformation for me, and one that I'm very, very happy about and proud of.
Okay, and again, I don't see any other new questions, but Bette does not go away. She will be participating on Facebook page, so you can continue to ask any questions as they come up.
I was going to offer to stay online after this Zoom and do some iNat training with people who are new to it, as I know some of you are. It's wonderful. I have learned so much from using iNaturalist. But it turns out I am a deacon in the Episcopal Church, and I have to go assist my bishop with a funeral, and this was totally unexpected. But I will be available, and if you need help, just email me. Or tag me on the Facebook page, and I will be happy. And if any chapter wants to do some iNat training, hey, I'll do it. I'm happy to do it. But I'm going to sign off and go pretty soon. So
thank you, Bette, for squeezing us in with your busy schedule this morning. And as I had emailed you, there will still be iNaturalist training at the end of this session, and I will do it. And
great.
So I might not do it as well as Bette, but I will get you through it.
Great. Thank you,
Thank
Janie.
you so much, Bette.
You're welcome.
Next,
all have a wonderful morning. I'm going to sign off and go do my work, but it's been great fun, and I look forward to seeing your observations popping up on the project. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey, I have one more observation, not to break the flow of the discussion, but I've got 5 indigo buntings on the ground in my backyard right now. Just thought I'd say that.
Not fair, not fair. For true? It's not April Fool's?
Yeah. Nope.
Okay.
Too late for that.
You're right. Okay, I am so pleased to introduce our next speaker, who is Ellen Lyons. And she has retired after 50 years of teaching. And in her career, she educated thousands of Louisiana students, teachers, and citizens about the importance of Louisiana ecology. Her primary emphasis was to increase public awareness and activism related to urban runoff and wetlands protection and restoration in coastal Louisiana. She has received numerous prestigious educational awards, including the Louisiana Governor's Award, National Wetlands Educator of the Year, and the Presidential Award for Excellence in Science Teaching. And on a personal note, I first met Sue Ellen, and Sue Ellen, as I say this, you are getting your screen shared, right? You're looking for that button. And you need to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself and get ready to share your screen. Remember how you go to the bottom and you pick share screen. And unmute yourself. There you go. But I was going to add that I met Sue Ellen when she was doing Turtle Cove teacher workshops. And it was just absolutely wonderful. She even had me writing a haiku about being in the mud. And those of you that know me know that I'm not particularly poetic, so this was quite an accomplishment for me. Also, I know that she's done a lot of work with whooping cranes, and maybe sometime she can tell you about the whooping crane suit and the fun walk that she got to learn in working with whooping cranes. So, Sue Ellen, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
And see me and all that other good stuff? And can everybody see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks everybody for joining. And I'm going to go back into the mode where I feel most comfortable, which is that of teacher. So with that, I'd like to add to the discussion that we've heard this morning already about some of the participation that we all take as naturalists in reporting data and so forth. That is all elements of being a citizen scientist. But being a citizen scientist theoretically comes under a broader umbrella called civic ecology. And a few years ago, through our Master Naturalist program, because we were looking to satisfy our requirements for continuing ed, Janelle Simpson and I took a course called Civic Ecology. And I can't recommend it highly enough. We both learned a lot, and we were able to put together a project and so forth for it. And so I'm going to share some of those elements of that with you today. So the, I don't know if y'all can see this. Yeah, can y'all see that? This is the textbook that we received in taking the civic ecology course. And there's an awful lot of great information in there.
Excuse me, Sue, do you want to run your PowerPoint?
I can. Will it?
Yeah, just run from beginning or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
That's better.
Yeah, much better. Thanks. With civic ecology, the first thing that sort of gobsmacked me was learning these two terms. Not that we couldn't figure out what they meant just from their word origins, but the whole idea that why do we want to be a citizen scientist? Why do we want to be a naturalist or a master naturalist? What makes us love where we live? What makes us love the wildlife that fascinates us, that we want to learn more about? And why do we want to spend more time outdoors? And basically, the two tenets of civic ecology is biophilia, the love of life, the love of living things. Topophilia, meaning love of place. So what made me such an advocate for Louisiana's wetlands, other than being educated by Bob Thomas in all the nuts and bolts and the knowledge part of all that. I developed that love early by my dad taking me out fishing, hunting, walking in the woods, crawfishing, doing all those kinds of things as a child. So that part of the biophilia and the topophilia started with me early, and it probably did the same with all of you. So biophilia and topophilia are things that maybe you can think about as we go forward through the presentation, and in later, if you're doing your scavenger hunt and all that, kind of think about those things. Why do you love them? Why are you why do you love the wildlife that you see so much? Civic ecology came about because through the realization that fighting big business, fighting corporations, fighting industry, with all those things, that was failing to achieve the goals that we wanted, whether it was personal goals or our goals as professionals. So instead, it focuses on the contributions that small groups, small places can make through networking. And that's not anything new to us because we've all done that. So the grassroots organizations or student groups like I had, a Master Naturalist group, networking and interacting with organizations on multiple levels, just like Bette talked about with iNaturalist. We work with Sierra Club. We've worked with other organizations through you can also, we talked about iNaturalist, but many of you are familiar with eBird. You're familiar with perhaps the National Phenology Network through Nature's Notebook. Those are all ways that we interact. And of course, there's always that with government agencies, businesses, etc. So I'm not sure if the title is showing properly on yours, but it's the hierarchy of environmental education. How do we share what we know? How do we come to that point of being stewards, being good stewards of the environment? That that's our aim, that's our goal, to achieve that point. So we start basically at the knowledge level, just learning facts. What is that? What is that organism? You know, where is this place? Then an understanding of it. For instance, with wetlands, what are they as an ecosystem? What the habitat? Basically building up an understanding of what it is and what it does, all the functions and values that they have. But then the next step to me is where it really gets important, and that's the appreciation. What is it? What does it mean to me? What does it mean to my community? What does it mean to my group? What does it mean to generations moving forward? So with here in South Louisiana, with wetlands, for instance, we have a tremendous appreciation of them for all the different values and functions that they provide, especially increasingly hurricane protection, that kind of thing, and especially food. After we go through those steps, then hopefully we achieve the level of stewardship where we want to protect the places we love and the things that we love. And again, you're probably missing the title, but what? Excuse me.
It's fine. We can see.
You can see it. Okay. So what are the issues? Once I start thinking about these, then one way that we can identify specifically what issues or what problems, what is it that we want to undertake as we try to become a good steward of the earth. So we use the acronym HIPPO, H for habitat, I for introduced or invasive species, P for population, And that can be anything from a tiny population of the monarch butterflies in your butterfly garden, or to the ever-growing human population. The second P for pollution, and then O for over, anything that we overdo. And of course, the inverse of that would be underdo. But overpopulation, we've seen what can happen with that, with wildlife populations. What happens when the nutria overpopulate? Overconsumption, which is a function, I guess, of human population growth. And then overharvesting. What happens? You can't take the last 2 crabs out of the water. So that's one of the things that my dad taught us when we were young. You can't take that out of the water and expect to have some for the future. So overharvesting is also one of those, and a lot of other overs. So for habitat, what is going to be your focus? What do you want to do to be a good steward? You might undertake plantings. That might be your thing. Planting trees. My students and I did a lot of that during our field trips. We loved getting out there and doing field work, especially planting trees in places where they were needed. It's important for reforestation. Sometimes it takes for trees that involves removing them. Like we did a lot of work with Amy Wing with trying to remove Chinese tallow from the Louisiana Nature Center property. Trees are important to plant for beauty and shade, all the other things that they provide for us. Gardens, we really come alive when we get our hands in the dirt, for most of us. Connects us to the earth in a way like no other. So if we could plant gardens, whether it's for a butterfly or pollinator garden, because we know how important that is, especially today in saving some of those species, whether it's for organic vegetables and fruits to feed our own families, or to help out in a larger way in our community. Increasingly, we see people taking action in wanting to develop community gardens, not only for the beneficial effect of getting food, but also for teaching others about the importance of growing their own food. Also with habitat, important activities that we can do would involve restoration, whether it's wetlands like the created wetlands, which are going on actually all over the world, I guess, but here along Bayou St. John and so forth. The Christmas tree fence project, like you see here, which has been going on for a number of years, and it's still going on. It's a little harder these days to get personally involved. In the beginning of that, we regularly went with our teachers, went with their students to go bundle and tie the Christmas trees, and occasionally you were able to get the good hookup and get out there on the boats for students to put them in the fences themselves. But now it's mostly save your Christmas tree, your unflocked Christmas tree, to participate in that project. Oyster reefs, which are important. That's another strategy they're using that we can get involved in with restoring our important wetlands. And then in your community, green spaces and parks, to get involved in that kind of work is important. And the Lafitte Greenway, there's a picture under here of the Lafitte Greenway that here in New Orleans, which literally crisscrosses the city, and there are green spaces, walkways, playgrounds, bike paths, all for people in the community to take who maybe can't get out and go to Jean Lafitte or go to Chico State Park or go to any of the other places where we go. So if they're sort of homebound to their urban environment, increasing those green spaces and parks is very important. And if you have that going on in your community, that might be a thing that inspires you to get involved. Litter cleanups, always important. I think, is it this morning, right now, while we're speaking, that there's one going on in Bayou St. John in New Orleans. So the continuing with exploring our HIPPO acronym and how we can get involved with that as master naturalists, as citizen scientists, and so forth. And by the way, citizen scientist is one where the program where data information is collected and shared either with a national or international group. So the Scavenger Hunt would be involved in that. And so is eBird, and so is the Nature's Notebook, through, as I mentioned before, through the US Phenology Network. So some of the introduced and invasive species here, I don't need to belabor this, but some of us have been involved from the beginning in trying to either remove them, remove the effects of them, or to maybe minimize the impact that they have. In vegetation, especially aquatic vegetation, hydrilla, salvinia, water hyacinths are really flourishing, and trying to eradicate them or at least minimize their impact has been really hard. There will be, throughout the spring and summer, there will be opportunities for all of us to engage in trying to remove that from our waterways. And then probably the other one, we all know the story of the nutria. And when a bounty was put on their tails, literally and figuratively, that helped to reduce some of their impact, but there's still a problem. The apple snail, which I think probably everybody has seen them everywhere. They're even in the ditch outside my nephew's house in Mandeville. And when I go over there to spend a few days and take his kids to the nature center over there in Mandeville, I always go out there with a rake and do some stomping and squashing to try to get rid of those. So any help anybody can provide. If you're a teacher and you have students that can get out and do that work, kids love being able to help with efforts like that. And here in New Orleans, the Formosan termite is wreaking a lot of havoc with homes, trees, and so forth. So all of these are some of the introduced or invasive species that we have to worry about in our community, in our area. So population. Other than advocating, extolling, encouraging everyone to preach ZPG and NPG for our burgeoning human population, which is the root cause of all of our other environmental problems. We won't talk about not that much we can do to control human population other than work for those goals. But for our wildlife populations, for the habitats, the places that we love and the things that we love, what we want to do is strengthen their populations or help them survive. And ways that we can do that as master naturalists is getting involved with habitat protection and restoration in any way that we can. You can participate through annual bird counts. And again, here's the citizen science part. Here's active participation in that where your data is going to count. So the annual bird counts that take place, there's a Christmas bird count. If those of you that have gone to the Grand Isle trip with our GNO Master Naturalist group, usually it's coordinated around the time of the Bird Fest on Grand Isle. And through that, you can see where they will collect their participants that count birds, but also where birds are banded and all the information about them is transmitted. The BioBlitz, which Dr. Amy Thomas generally heads up every year. I don't think, are we going to have that this year? Anybody know? Are we going to be able to do that? The BioBlitz.
Yes. Yeah.
Are,
Oh, the BioBlitz. No, I don't think we're not involved in it, but there is one going on in City Park.
okay. Well, will Janelle, Janie, will we be able to get information about that to our group?
Yes, we will. I know Baton Rouge BREC is doing a BioBlitz, but I don't recall the date. We can post those. I don't think it's till May.
Okay, any other parts of the state? Are y'all having BioBlitz?
Well, of course,
Joelle,
the City Nature Challenge is going to be a big deal.
this is Janelle. Yes, there's definitely a BioBlitz on for Greater New Orleans.
Okay. All right, well, we'll post all that. That'll be posted on the web pages and Facebook pages and all that. So participate in that. It's a lot of fun, and that information is very valuable to share. Any kind of management programs with wildlife and fisheries. For instance, we were able to participate, very fortunate to participate with the whooping crane reintroduction project in Louisiana. And Wildlife and Fisheries has done a great job with that, to the extent that it's the most successful whooping crane reintroduction program in the United States. So Carrie Salyers and I'm going blank here, Sarah.
Zamorsky.
Zamorsky. Thank you, Janelle. Anyway, they deserve a lot of kudos for doing such a great job with that program. Another management program that the Louisiana, our Greater New Orleans group has been privy to is through wildlife biologist Jean Cavalier. He has come to our meetings and talked about managing the feral hogs program, which they do an awful lot of damage all over the place, but especially to our wetlands. So those are ways that we can either control problem populations of organisms or ways in which we can enhance habitat and try to help other organisms survive. In backyard projects, and I know a lot of our members throughout the state participate in having their gardens and yards certified as habitat for wildlife. So simply by providing food and water for them and a brush pile in a corner of your yard makes good habitat for them. Planting native species as much as possible. And in your garden, if you've got a large enough yard, try to do the quilt effect, which means not all the same thing. Provide different varieties of things that may give food, shelter, and so forth to our wildlife. And pollution. What can I say? It's we all can participate in trying to reduce it, but I think the biggest thing that we can do is try to educate others about the effects of it, especially litter. And there's participation in things like beach sweep every year, litter cleanups. Again, I think there's one going on today in the Bayou St. John area here in New Orleans. But wherever possible, try to encourage people to do that. If you live in an area that's prone to flooding, we know how important it is to keep storm drains clean, to keep waterways clean, to keep roadside ditches clean and free maybe of vegetation, so that excess water can drain off and not damage people's property. So anything that we can do about that, especially awareness, educate people as much as possible, family, students, neighbors, however you can, educate people about that. And do what you can in your own life to minimize any things that you're doing to contribute to air pollution, water pollution, etc. Over, HIPPO acronym, overpopulation, overuse, overconsumption, which we're probably all guilty of. So anything we do that is damaging the planet, damaging habitat, damaging wildlife, damaging even our human population, we need to try to reduce it wherever possible, especially the damn plastic water bottles. That's like my personal crusade with that. But I know we're all educated with using our reusable cups. But again, try to educate others and bring that awareness to them of what they can do. Practice all the R's whenever possible, and encourage your family and so forth to do that also. So who can participate in all of these things? Who can become a citizen scientist? Who can become a naturalist? FRANK is the acronym we use for that. Family, relatives, acquaintances, neighbors, and kids. Everybody basically that we know can participate in this and become good civic ecologists. This picture and this picture are from our rendezvous that we had 2 years ago, and where we had so much fun. And I certainly hope that next year we can all be together again to participate in that. Here's one of my students that we were fortunate enough to get to go to the LSU Museum of Natural History on LSU's campus. And he got to hold these preserved specimens of ivory-billed woodpeckers. He still talks about that today every time he sees me, that what a thrill it was, because that was a thing that he wanted to go on to college and study to become a wildlife biologist. And he wanted to be one of the ones that went into the deepest swamps possible to try to find ivory-billed woodpeckers. So that little impact that he might have, how wonderful if he could reach that goal and reach that goal for all of us. So, and all the ways that we can participate, encourage everybody to join you in it, especially children. They don't get enough outdoors today, and especially over this last year, where being indoors so much, being quarantined, having to do virtual school in many cases, literally very, very, very few field trips allowed. So more than ever, they need to get outdoors now. They need the effects of nature for their emotional and physical health. So encourage that whenever possible, and take a kid outdoors today, or do it every chance you get. So with that, I'll say happy Easter, happy spring. Get out there and enjoy it. I hope we can all be together again physically at a rendezvous in a beautiful place next year. So, Any questions for me? Any comments? Otherwise,
Thank
I'm
you,
going
Sue Ellen.
Jean Lafitte. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sue Ellen, so much for that informative and inspiring information. And we look forward to, you know, all of us can do a little bit better job and also get somebody else on board to do that too. There were some very good comments and links to events that are going on in the chat. And I will save the chat, but also I encourage you to post that same information on our Rendezvous Facebook page so that everyone has an opportunity to see what's going on. Because I did see some chats of bio blitzes that were going on and other events, the hazardous waste in Baton Rouge and some other events that people posted. So rather than read through those all right now, I'm going to ask if you could repost some of those on our Facebook page. And next, I'm going to turn it over to back to Bob just to give us a little closing remarks. And following that, I will stay on for those of you who would like to run through some iNaturalist information to become a little bit more confident in that. I don't anticipate this taking any longer than 15 or 20 minutes, but what we will do is following Bob's talk is let's just take 2 or 3 minutes break so that if you need to refill your coffee cup or whatever, we will reconvene back in just a couple of minutes following Bob's closure for iNaturalist. So you don't have to turn off anything, just leave it on and just go get what you need to get, and we will start a couple minutes following that. And so Bob, back to you.
Good, thank you. Those were fun talks. Thank you so much, Sue Ellen and Charles and everybody else who's been giving talks. It's just wonderful. And just the right amount for a Saturday morning. We wish you a great rendezvous period, and I hope you all get to do some things that maybe you've been putting off, getting together socially distanced with some good friends in the wilds of Louisiana. And we're trying to set up seeing if we can, on short order, set up a field trip to Lake Ramsey for our group. And if that happens, I'm going to send it out to the board and they can share with all the chapters to see if anybody else wants to join us. We'll just be out there for a few hours, but it's just, I don't know about y'all, but my weekends are jammed. I mean, just jammed because I've got field trips with my classes and things like that. It makes it a little difficult, but we're going to try to get something going on that. Otherwise, I'm, traipsing over to City Park and taking a walk in Couturier and seeing what we can find. By the way, we've been doing something that's non-native the last week. We've been seeing more and more the golden pheasant somebody let go in the park. And it finally dawned on me that I said, we all talk about this golden pheasant and if we see it or not, because it's random, you just don't know where it is in that forest. And I said, but we don't know when it arrived here. So I've been sending emails out to people. So if any of you have any information, if you've been down in New Orleans and you've seen it, the farthest back we have it now, and it's just one animal, is March the 3rd, 2016. So it has indeed been here at least 5 years, and cannot believe nothing has killed it. I mean, it's just an amazing bird. Stands out like a sore thumb in the middle of the forest if you see it, and everybody starts whooping and getting excited. But I still don't think it's as pretty as our natives that are coming through right now. But anyway,
yeah.
Just thought I'd mention that to you. But those are the kind of questions I think that naturalists like to ask. And somebody said, Bob, it's not native. Somebody let it go. Why are you even worried about that? I said, because everybody's talking about it. And 5 years from now, it won't be there. And people will say, remember that? And somebody will say, well, when did it get there? And when did it leave? And everybody will go, I don't know. So I'm always, oh yeah. There's a gorgeous picture that Joan Garvey took that I'm using right now in my slideshow. So yeah, we need to share that. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send that out to the board, and then ask the board to send it to their members. Okay, and then I'll send it out to our chapter. Okay, but it's
I'm going Monday to go. Look
we
at
had
it.
we had a workshop 2 days ago in City Park, and I was moving from one place to another, and it just walked out of the forest and walked right up to the edge of the road and sat there and watched me drive by. I went, what? You're supposed to be afraid of people and cars and things, but it hangs out there. There are two, what are the chickens called that are real red and everything, that are basically native to India? Is there a name for those? I think there is. Anyway, it hangs out with two of those that somebody let go in the forest.
Red jungle fowl?
Say it again?
Red jungle fowl?
Yeah, I think that is the name.
Is that the
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. No, there's two of them. And but anyway, sometimes you just get involved in these crazy little things. But you know, Sue Ellen remembers that I was writing something about brown pelicans, and the holy grail back when the pelicans were reestablishing. You know, we'd see them down at the coast and everything, but everybody who loved nature in New Orleans was always talking about, I'll be so glad when I see one sitting on a post in Lake Pontchartrain the way they used to.
Absolutely.
And everybody talked and talked and talked about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's when Sue Ellen was taking ornithology from me. We went on a field trip one Sunday morning, and there was one sitting on a post. And but that was before eBird and LA Bird, and you know, I think people, if they saw something, they had to call a telephone number to report it. So I started working with all the people trying to find out, when was that moment? What day was that? And then I sent emails to all of my students in that class and said, look, y'all had to keep field notes. Does anybody have their notes? And I remember Sue Ellen saying, nope, lost all of my stuff like that in Katrina. Several others said that. And then 2 weeks later, out of the blue, came one of my students who teaches at Dominican, who said, yeah, I just found my notes. And here's the date, dink. So now we were able to establish that. But you know, those dates are important things for naturalists when you're seeing things. That's why we keep records, is to so we can go back and document when things were here and when they were not here.
Now
and
the pelicans
usually
are everywhere.
Yeah. And I did the same thing with the brown boobies. It took me a long time, and I finally accepted. And you know, this is what we do now, basically. Is you look at eBird. eBird is so good at that, where people recorded things. So the established beginning and end of the brown booby population and on the causeway have been established from eBird. And everybody, I've checked with all the great birders that go out there across that causeway all the time, and everybody agrees with those dates. So anyway, so I'm just throwing that out there because it's another thing to keep in mind as a naturalist, to keep good notes, especially about interesting things that we see. Make sure that you put dates on every photograph you take and where it is. So it's amazing how many times people send me pictures of things that they took 10 years ago, and it only has a name, not even their name. And so it's kind of lost to the quality of our understanding. So anyway, all right.
Have
So
we ever done, Bob, have we ever done, or has any of the other chapters ever done how you taught us in classes to keep a log? Do any of the Master Naturalist groups address that with their members?
Yes,
To address what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Sinlaw has done that. We've had courses on journaling, and both Acadiana's done.
Yeah, we've had them on with journaling and sketching.
That's
but
basically
in terms of keeping a log with the ambient air temperature, water temperature, if that's appropriate, time of day, cloud cover. What else, Bob? What am I leaving out?
Ecological description of the habitat.
Yeah, observation.
And then a list of all
What do you
species
hear?
observed.
Yeah, things you observe or hear visually or orally.
I'd like to, this is Phyllis, when those journals and logs, you know, our master naturalist groups in both Houston and here, you know, that's always been recommended, but unless there's sort of this critical mass of people, especially the leaders of the group who model that, you know, whip them out, we do this, it doesn't become kind of the normal, the habit. And so if we're doing that, you know, just saying, hey, it's a good idea is probably not going to be enough to sort of entrench that habit. I know it wasn't for me. And unless, if the whole group were doing it, I'm a follower, I'd have done it, you know.
Good,
Well,
good.
that's why I asked, is anybody actively teaching that, or not requiring, but teaching
Well,
it and
I think
advocating to do it,
we think
modeling it?
but we're not. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Well, you got to be pretty fanatic.
I
You got to be pretty fanatic to do it. You got to stay on your game. Look, I've been doing it my whole life since my first list started when I was in about the 10th grade. And then it was just species list and locations and dates that I saw them and stuff like that. It wasn't all the ecological information, but and for a long time I did it religiously. And now I don't do it as much. Like even on my workshops and stuff, I don't go back and fill out a sheet. But unless we saw something that was really, really important that I wanted to remember. But I'm prodding myself to get back to doing that, because you never know. You just never know the value of your observations. Those of you that are avid birders are probably religiously doing it on eBird. You're keeping lists like that, and that's wonderful. I wish every field of endeavor in natural history had something where people really, really, really focused on what's there and what's not, because with the gradual warming of the atmosphere and everything, you know, we're all teaching phenology, right? We're all talking about phenology constantly, but are we documenting what blooms when, what frogs start calling when, all of those things, what birds arrive? Look, I'm on LA Bird, and I'm getting, at this time of year, you get all these FOS emails, first of the season, like today. These are my first indigo buntings. If I were participating in that, I would put them up. I do kind of keep notes, but I'm not that avid a birder where I'm putting out all of those kind of observations. But anyway, but it is important, and I'm glad a lot of people are doing it, because I can go back and look at records. Yeah. All righty. Well, look, it's been a great morning, and we'll release everybody that's not going to listen to the iNat, and we'll just be another 15 minutes to kind of refresh our memories. So, well, let me ask you this, Janie, can we send an email to everybody who's registered for Rendezvous?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to send you a copy of the form that I use with my students. It's not dumbed down. It's actually pretty good. It's exactly what I put in my field journal. I just start from scratch and write it all down. But I'm going to send that out so y'all can at least take a look at it. So if some of you have never done that kind of field noting, you can at least have a visual image of what it looks like. And feel free to use them, retype it, do whatever you want to do, add stuff to it, take stuff off. But it really is an easy way when you go on a field trip and you carry 3 or 4 sheets with you, and before you leave the place, you fill it out, because you forget that stuff so fast, what you saw where. So I always have my students do it when we get back to the car before we go to the next place to search for reptiles and amphibians or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Right. We will continue our conversation on Facebook, and you can get information from the website. And of course, yes, I can email out information. So let's take, for those of you who would like to continue with the iNaturalist training, I'm going to suggest that we just take about a 2 or 3 minute break, and then come back. You do not have to log out and log back in again. Just leave your screen on and go get your cup of coffee and come right back. And again, just a final thank you, Bob, our president, Sue Ellen, our wonderful speaker today, and Charles and Betty both had to move on, but you saw that you can continue to communicate with them through Facebook about the scavenger hunt and the photo contest.
Anybody wants to come join Amy and me at Jean Lafitte, come on out.
We wish. And don't forget the field trip to Kisatchie is on the 10th, and keep posted. Other groups might be doing some other things that you might be able to join socially distanced. Okay, thank y'all. And I'll be back in a minute for our naturalist training.
Bye, y'all.